It's December 31st, 1986, in the tropical paradise of Puerto Rico. Vacationers have traveled here to celebrate New Year's Eve at the luxurious Dupont Plaza Hotel. This 20-story high-rise boasts 423 guest rooms that overlook the glamorous Condado beach area of San Juan. Hotel guests frolic in the surf and bask under the warm sun. But unbeknownst to them, inside the hotel, a disaster is about to erupt that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. John Benevento and his wife Joan arrive in San Juan from Connecticut with their two children, Chandra, age 10, and Brandon, age 7. That afternoon, John Benevento goes to the hotel's casino, while Joan takes the kids to the beach. After a quick dip, the children decide to go back into the hotel and up to their room to watch cartoons. 15 minutes after her children have gone in, out on the beach, Joan and other guests smell something burning.
The whole bottom of the hotel is engulfed in thick black smoke. I can see the flames ripping across the awnings of that casino, and I can hear the windows popping. It sounds like mini explosions.
Within moments, the first and second floors of the hotel are consumed in smoke and flames. Joan has no idea where the rest of her family is. Inside the casino, her husband John fights for his life. He and 175 other people are trapped.
People were literally on fire at this stage. You could see women screaming, yelling, their dresses on fire.
John immediately grabs a chair, shatters one of the windows, and jumps 15 feet to the pavement below. He breaks his foot and must crawl away from the burning building.
There was mass confusion, people running all over, screaming, yelling, flames now coming out of the first 5 floors of the building. My wife finally came over and told me, screaming that the children were in the building.
John and Joan are terrified that their children are trapped inside the blazing inferno. They anxiously watch people stranded on the upper floors try to escape the insidious smoke and fire. Firefighters from San Juan's 5 fire stations rush to the scene. Fire Sergeant Luis Delgado is shocked by the mass chaos and the extreme smoke.
You know, my firefighter life in service over 30 years. I went to big fires, but not a fire like that.
Outside the hotel, bystanders help paramedics as they rush to treat people suffering from burns, fractures, and smoke inhalation. High above them, helicopters are attempting to rescue guests who've climbed to the roof. But the Dupont Plaza's narrow rooftop was not designed to accommodate helicopters. There is a danger that the copter's blades will strike the building. Puerto Rico police helicopter pilot Angel Rojas prepares to rescue victims from the roof. But the intense smoke and heat nearly cause his aircraft's engine to stall.
The problem was the level of heat. For some reason, that affected our engine, our temperature went up, and we hear a sound like a woo, and we became very concerned.
After making sure his engine is okay, Angel joins 7 other helicopters from the police, National Guard, U.S. Navy, and Coast Guard to transport victims onto the beach. But the Benevento children are still nowhere to be found, and their mother, Joan, is desperate.
I can see people on balconies. I can see one fellow who throws a bunch of sheets or blankets, something that he had tied together that it looked like he was going to throw over and climb down, but I don't see the kids.
Joan and her husband John now fear the worst for their children as the Dupont Plaza Hotel succumbs to the fire's wrath. Toxic smoke wraps around the towering building, turning the hotel into a smoldering grave. Emergency crews are becoming overwhelmed as they work to rescue people caught in a New Year's Eve fire at the Dupont Plaza Hotel in San Juan, Puerto Rico. 8 helicopters have been flying non-stop for 5 hours to pull victims from the hotel's roof. But the dense smoke has been hampering their visibility, and pilots must be careful to avoid a mid-air collision. On the ground, 35 ambulances crowd the parking lot as paramedics resort to using beach chairs to transport the injured. TV news reporter Carlos Ochoteco is horrified by what he sees.
There were many people coming out of the building, screaming, yelling, calling lost relatives. It was horrible.
Hotel guest Joan Benevento is relentless in her search for her missing youngsters, Chandra, age 10, and Brandon, age 7. She fears they are trapped inside this 20-story oven that is burning out of control.
I had been to the site where they were bringing people off the roof. I talked to a few of the people who had been on the roof, and no one had seen little children. They didn't remember that.
As nightfall comes, there's still no sign of the Benevento children. Their father, John, fears for their lives.
But I was screaming, God, don't take my children, God, don't take my children.
Just as hope is fading, Joan spots a last-minute rescue effort. Victims are being helped off an upper balcony. She makes her way through the crowd.
There were people coming down a ladder from one of the lower balconies. I could see at least one person being carried, and I saw a little dark-haired person, and I thought it could be Brandon, and it was. He's having a tough time, and he was very upset.
Brandon's older sister, Chandra, follows right behind him.
The minute I get down the ladder, I'm put in the arms of a friend. I felt like he was my best friend. He was my savior. And then I see my mother, and seeing my mother, I just have the biggest smile on my face. I'm so happy to see her.
When the fire broke out, the Benevento children tried to escape, but became trapped in a stairwell.
There are people screaming, people crying, people trying to go down, and other people trying to go up.
Unable to get out, Chandra and Brandon take refuge in a vacated room on the 14th floor with 8 adults. A wet towel is placed under the door to keep the deadly smoke from seeping inside, which helped save their lives. It would take more than 100 firefighters to put out this massive blaze. 97 people were killed and over 150 were injured. Arson investigators with the United States FBI and the ATF concluded that the fire was deliberately started with a can of cooking fuel in a ground-level ballroom. Later, 3 disgruntled hotel employees were convicted of setting the blaze. Journalist Carlos Ochoteco says this awful catastrophe had a profound impact on all of Puerto Rico.
I just witnessed the most painful experience of my life. I think it was the spirit of all Puerto Ricans that day. It was very painful for Puerto Rico.
This disaster has prompted much change. Helicopter pilot Angel Rojas went on to establish Puerto Rico's first and only air ambulance service. And the hotel is under new ownership. Today, the San Juan Marriott Resort is equipped with a high-tech, state-of-the-art security system, smoke detectors, and smoke extraction systems. Every room contains high-pressure sprinklers, and the hotel's positive pressure stairwells are continually pumped full of clean air, making it impossible for smoke to fill them. The dark smoke that cloaked Puerto Rico's New Year has long been cleared, and hundreds of miles away in Connecticut, the Benevento family has gone on with their lives. Little brother Brandon is now away at college, and Chandra is a graduate of the University of Miami. They feel fortunate to have come out of this horrible tragedy alive. While nothing can be done to bring back the lives of those who perished, hopefully the lessons learned from this catastrophe will prevent similar fires from happening in the future.